breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Hey folks, today is Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. You're listening to The Daily Ledger Show. I'm your host, Dennis Sert. Great to be here with you today. We got a few stories for you. You know what's funny? Yesterday, I think we had some fun, and we're still gonna keep it lighthearted, sort of when it's appropriate. I think today we're gonna play it a bit more straight. So should be still a lot of fun. But yeah, so let's just get into it here. Let's start out with the Dow Jones Industrial. So it looks like we're up today, $202, so about a 0.44% increase in the green. NASDAQ up around 600 with a 2.69% increase. So looking good, both in the green. Seems like this is in part due to a few factors. So first of all, there has been some positive indications for a rate cut. So yesterday on November 24th, the San Francisco Federal Reserve President Mary Daly told the Wall Street Journal that she's going to support a rate cut in the upcoming December FOMC meeting. So there's that. And this is obviously pretty good because, one of the voting members sort of said sort of explicitly that she will be probably voting for that. We also have the New York Federal Reserve president. His name is John Williams. Ayo. And he said he's also supporting a rate cut in December. And yeah, so he's basically citing higher inflation concerns. So that's sort of what he's citing here. And then let me make sure that I have this posted on some of the other places I like to post this. So give me 2 seconds while I do that. So I'm on X right now. And then like repost Daily Ledger Show. Yeah, I don't like to do this on, but I just want to make sure this gets out there. Okay, we're back. Okay. So yeah, so that's what the San Francisco Federal Reserve president said, as well as the New York Fed president said. I thought this was interesting. So the New York Fed president said that he believes that the labor market weakness is a bigger threat to the economy at present than higher inflation concerns. So this is a good sign that they are indeed going to cut the rate in December. Of course, this is what I was saying as well. I think starting about 5 days ago after I read the FOMC meeting notes. So yeah, so there's that. Let's move on to this news story here. From Sherwood News, Google jumps NVIDIA and AMD follow-on report that its search giant is in talks to sell billions of dollars to the of its custom AI chips to Meta. Yeah, so looks like NVIDIA is slightly up right now. But basically what was going on is that um, Meta, which of course sort of owns and operates the Llama large language model / AI. So Meta is actually going to buy what are called TPUs from Google, and this is kind of a departure from what Google usually does, which is Google usually sort of licenses out the usage of their chips and TPUs via their cloud computing software, right? Yeah, so that would be sort of the Google console as well as various services like Google Vertex, and then also with few others, Google Colab. But yeah, that's more direct to consumer. But yeah, there's a wide way. There's a variety of ways that people can use Google's GPUs. But again, what's interesting here is that they're just outright directly sort of selling their TPUs to Meta. Yeah, so or I think licensing, but that's kind of cool. No, that's the next one. Let's read some more. Uh, oh yeah, so it's saying so historically Google has rented access to these chips through its cloud business rather than supplying them directly to third parties. Um, the report suggests that insiders believe a more direct foray could allow the company to grab a market share in chips amounting to about 10% of NVIDIA's annual revenue. Google's AI chips, the TPUs or tensor processing units, are having a moment. These semiconductors were used to train its latest Gen AI model, Gemini 3, which has received rave reviews and are cheaper to use than NVIDIA's offerings. Sent the stock to record highs, surpassing Microsoft in market value along the way. Cool. Yeah. So that's sort of what's going on there. Let's move on to the story. Amazon, from about Amazon.com. Amazon to invest up to $50 billion to expand AI and supercomputing infrastructure for US government agencies. Okay, so Amazon is sort of once again jumping into US government contracts. So it says here AWS will build and deploy the first ever AI and high performance computing purpose built infrastructure for the US government. New investment will add nearly 1.3 gigawatts to compute capacity across AWS top secret, AWS secret, and AWS Gov cloud regions across all classification levels. And then we have expands access to AWS trusted infrastructure and comprehensive AI services to help government agencies advance America's AI leadership. Yeah, so it's $50 billion going in there. So it's a lot of money. There we go. So that's cool. Let's move on. Yeah, this one broke my heart. Doge quietly shuts down with 8 months left on mandate. Report. RIP. So this is from newsweek.com. Let's zoom in here a little bit. The Department of Government Efficiency, which launched an unprecedented assault to cut back the public sector as President Donald Trump steps into the White House in January, no longer exists. With 8 months to go on its mandate, Reuters has reported. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, well, they fired Big Balls back in like July, so that was kind of the beginning of the end for Doge. Um, yeah, in October 2024, Musk said he could cut $2 trillion from government spending. Yeah, if they allowed him, they drove him out of the White House. Yeah, so it's kind of talking about that. What people are saying, the Partnership for Public Service says on its website, one of the defining features of the Trump administration's approach to governance and the mission of the Doge has been the deliberate dismantling of the federal workforce. This campaign to weaken the federal civil service has targeted the very people who keep our government running and provide essential services that we all rely on every day. Yeah, that sounds like a fold. RIP Doge. Let's move on. I got a few more stories left. These are from TechCrunch. So it looks like Anthropic released their Opus 4.5 model yesterday with new Chrome and Excel integrations. Apparently, it did really well on this software engineering benchmark. It was the first model to score over 80% on it. Yeah, a lot of people use Anthropic models for coding. Yeah, I actually stick with OpenAI's GPT-5, but yeah, I know a lot of people like Claude. So there's that. There are improvements we made on general long context quality in training with Opus 4.5, but context windows are not going to be sufficient by themselves. Knowing the right details to remember is really important in complement to just having a longer context window. Yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. Um, okay. So it looks like they had a focus on memory for this one. Opus 4.5 will face stiff competition from other recently released frontier models, most notably OpenAI's GPT 5.1, released on November 12th, and Google Gemini 3, released November 18th. Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of this cycle. And then Grok's going to come out with Grok 4.20, which is going to be a huge thing. Um, so there's sort of this never ending cycle of new AI models. Altman describes OpenAI's forthcoming AI device as more peaceful and calm than the iPhone. When people see it, they say, "That's it? It's so simple." Yeah, of course, OpenAI kind of got Johnny Ive, which, let's face it, was sort of the brains behind Apple's largest breakthroughs in the last like 20 years. Um, And so, yeah, OpenAI is being really coy about what it is they've built with Johnny Ive. We'll have to see what it is. So I guess they're saying like, oh, it's really simple. I think Altman has said it's not glasses and it's not a watch. So I actually don't know what it is. We'll have to see. But so here's what Altman says. The vibe of the AI device, meanwhile, would be more like sitting in the beautiful lake by a sitting in the most beautiful cabin by a lake and in the mountains, and sort of just enjoying the peace and calm. Okay. And then he's like kind of contrasting that to the iPhone, which he talks about how he feels like he's walking through Times Square, New York, and just quote unquote constantly dealing with all the little indignities along the way, flashing lights in my face, people bumping into me, the noise going off. It's an unsettling thing. Like I wonder what it is that's so like peaceful. Um, yeah, and so he kind of talks about how this device is going to know you really well. The device he described should be able to filter out things for the user, and the user would trust the AI to do things for them when the best time to present of when it's the best time to present information to the user and ask for input. Yeah, so that's interesting. Let's see. Are you gonna get one of them when Altman finally tells us what it is? It better be worth the hype. I'll say that. You know what happened to the Tesla Model Y sort of like updated version? They're like, oh my god, Tesla. This is Tesla. Tesla's like, oh my god, we got something new coming out. It's gonna be so cool, and everyone's like, oh my god, is it a new car? Like, is it like a brand new, you know, flagship car? Or, what is it? And then it was just like a small update to the existing Model Y, and I think it was like a $2,000 price reduction. And I was like, okay, like, and then the stock actually plummeted after that. It was like, all right, well, you know what, you hyped it up that much, and I'm kind of afraid that I'm a little bit worried that Altman's doing the exact same thing here. They're like, oh wow, this device is going to be so peaceful. It's not a watch. It's not glasses. And then, uh, okay, and then, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it better be worth the hype. Um, All right. X Energy rides nuclear wave, and this is the last story we have. Raises 700 million Series D. Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because, uh, I mean, I the next new thing is nuclear. Like all the big tech companies are sort of having these private nuclear facilities. Um, Microsoft's supposedly going to have the first uh fusion, like in practice fusion reactor. Of course, fusion reactors have only been tested sort of like in lab stuff, and they haven't actually led to any net positive energy output. So they've never been used in practice, and so they're going to do that apparently by 2028. So that's Microsoft. But and then you have Bill Gates himself coming out on GatesNotes.com saying, "Oh, well, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't invest that much money into green energy." And that's him saying that. Well, okay. Well, what happened to the last like 15 years then, Bill? Right. But yeah, so let's read here. X Energy said the new infusion will help build the supply chain for small modular reactors. Yeah, it's actually kind of cool. X Energy, and yeah, they have some cool looking modular reactors. So this is their website. It's pretty clean actually. So check that out. Our fuel, our reactors, and then they have a few of them. Yeah, so we should probably expect to see the market move into this direction, sort of more startups like X Energy doing nuclear energy, more investment into nuclear. The problem is it takes a few years to get nuclear reactors online. So there's that to remember as well. Okay, let's dive into the sponsor for the show, which is, of course, Byte AI. Make sure you download Byte AI. It's available as an iOS app as well as through the web app here through app.byteai.me. It's in the top right corner of the stream here. So what is it? It's basically a financial co-pilot, an investment co-pilot. You basically put in all the stocks that you want to follow, and then you basically let it run in the background. Whenever you need to make a trade or you're looking to make a trade, you take a quick look and you see if it's underbought, overbought, or neutral. I like to buy when it's underbought, sell when it's overbought. And then what goes into the decision making? It's basically AI checking to see the technical indicators. So the RSI curve, Bollinger Bands, MACD/signal curve, which all indicate they have certain patterns that indicate mathematically whether it's a good time to buy or sell. And then the AI also takes into account the news sentiment. So it takes into account like news it gets from like Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance, all these Wall Street Journal, etc. Regarding that stock, and then it sort of makes a decision. It's really an analysis. An analysis. Try saying that 5 times really fast. Yeah, so I'll say this. It's not Byte AI nor I are a financial advisor. So yeah, remember that past success doesn't guarantee future results, and this is this show is really an entertainment show, not a financial advising show. And Byte AI is meant to be sort of a data analysis tool, not a financial advisor. But it's a very useful tool. I use it every single day when making my trades. Okay, let's dive in. It seems like to our only non-neutral analysis here, which is Amazon underbought. Amazon shows multiple technical signals supporting a mild underbuy condition. RSI at 44.49 indicates room for upside before overextension. The MACD is effectively flat to signal bullish, suggesting evolving positive momentum. The stock sits near the upper Bollinger Band with a narrow band of 0.52, signaling a squeeze in potential mean reversion rather than a sustained breakout. New sentiment is predominant, emphasizing e-commerce leadership and advancing AI capabilities with strategic moves like IonQ divestment, reinforcing focus on core strengths. This guy. Yeah, sometimes you have to refresh before the articles show up, but sometimes there aren't articles. But yeah, so I guess there's this strategic move with IonQ. Yeah, I think sometimes when there's too many, it kind of takes a little bit. So let's see. What will UPS be in 1 year? And then I guess it kind of goes into Amazon here. Earlier this year, UPS made the strategic decision to reduce its reliance on top customer Amazon. Logistics giant plans to cut its Amazon shipping volumes by more than 50% by next year. So that's why it's presenting this, kind of talking about that, took that into account. Okay. Yeah, so everything else is neutral. So I'm actually going to end the show there. I actually don't like it when it goes on too long. I'm actually actively trying to kind of make it a shorter show. But yeah, I think we're at 20 minutes. So anyways, thanks so much for tuning in today. Make sure to download Byte AI. Use code podcast20 for a 20% discount at web checkout. And then that carries over into iOS if you do it through Stripe web checkout on the web app. So that's at app.byteai.me, BYTEAI.me, podcast20. Okay. Cool. I'm going to let you guys go. Make sure, I hope you guys have a great day. Make sure you make lots of money out there.